Hi guys, I am absolutely delighted to be bringing you these three little paper house luminaries that I've made. This is the first one that I designed and it's quite simple. A row of three of these together would look absolutely beautiful. Decorate these with pearls and beads and little bits of fancy whatnots to make them something really quite special. I'm sure you can do wonderful jobs with those, with little bits of cotton lace and little bits of old jewellery perhaps, and gems, and you know, even a dangle off here. You know what to do with these. And this is my second one. This is a 3-story paper house luminary, and it's got a door at the back that opens, and this area, like they all have, for putting your battery powered tea light that you can easily get at those. So that's that one. The light shines so beautifully through all of these windows. It's so good to see it nice. And this one is the most complicated of the three. It's got 2 stories, looks like a little chapel, candle inside there, sitting inside this circle. So let's go ahead and see how we put these together. There are 3 different. So on this one, again, I've cut out the whole shape. I've got my roof section here. I've got this little section here that I'm going to need. I've also got this little section which I'm going to use maybe in this area here. I want to just go over where we're cutting here, and with all the kits we're cutting from this section right the way across to the end. So I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, so that's cut through to that point there. Now to cut the windows, if you want to, you can use a ruler. Always protect, if you can, the side that you want to keep, so that if you slip, you go onto the bit that you're going to be discarding. So that's how I would do that. So what I do is I do all my parallel lines first and then turn it round and do the lines going in the other direction. So I've done those 2 with a ruler. I'll just go and do these by hand. And doing these by hand, I find, you always need a nice sharp knife, obviously. Doing them by hand is really just like drawing a line, and your nice sharp knife bites into your cutting mat and it all feels nice and secure. And because it is not a lot, I wouldn't do a freehand straight line on a long line. But on these little bits like this, I find it absolutely fine. And what I'm also doing is cutting just ever slightly over the line, and that means that I don't have those annoying little bits that get caught in the corner, and then you have a little bit of tatty paper going on in that corner there that you've got to tidy up. It just comes out all really beautifully and clean, and you won't see those tiny little overcuts. So there's all my windows cut out, and you see that doesn't take long at all. I've got 2 more to do here. There we are, and all that's left for us to do here is to cut out this circle, which I'm going to do freehand. A little bit more challenging, this one. And you can turn your work as you go. Get that nice sweep in. Whoops-a-daisy. And just do a little bit at a time, and so it's not an overwhelming shape to cut out. I think I've gone all the way around, and pop that out. Now all that's left for us to do is to snip in these little areas here, which are going to be our little tabs that we're going to fold under to create the houses. That's it, I think, on that one. And get rid of my little window shapes. And now I'm going to score this piece, and you can go in with a scoring board if you want to, but because this is, you've got different angles going on here, you might find it easier to do it with a craft knife and a ruler. So all I'm going to do is take the back of my craft knife on a shallow angle and just make those scores. I can feel when I've done it, so I can go around when think I've gone around the lot and just check. I'll soon know when I come to fold it. So here is my tall house. I've cut it all out. I've made my score lines along all of these places here, but I haven't inked it up. I thought it might be clearer to see what's going on if I don't ink it up. So we'll go ahead and put it together, and I begin by making my creases into folds. Good idea to use a bone folder for this so that it's nice and sharp. This one folds over this way. Just check that everything's lined up nicely, and if your creases are off ever so slightly, just adjust those. Better to do that on small square forms like this. Your really nice, sharp, good results come from your accurate folding. So just check you've got those. So we've done that bit there. All of these little tabs need to come folded inwards. There's a little bit extra there. It all fits together when it's assembled. Got these two here. And I've got one here. And then I've got the actual main body of the piece here. And I'm just going to check that to the best of my ability that these are all nice and square. That looks good. This last one. Did I even crease that? Yes, I did. There it is. There we go. So all our creases are made into folds, and this is our roof section here, and we're going to fold this exactly in half, like this, and then these pieces fold inwards. So we've got that piece as a mountain fold, and these two sections either side as valley folds, and that gives us our nice little apex on the roof and the look of I don't know what you call these parts, shingles at the top. So that's that. Right, we can, in actual fact, we can go ahead now and glue this little section here together and let that dry. So this area here with the little battery candle, only no naked flame notice on there, which I thought would be a good idea if you're going to be selling these, especially in craft fairs, even though it's common sense that you don't put a naked flame around a paper object. I've put it there so you're covered. So this piece here folds up to 90 degrees and forms this little box like this. You can go ahead and pop some glue on this flap if you want to. You can allow your glue a moment to go tacky, or a minute to go tacky, and it sticks down really nicely. Make sure you line that up at the edge. Oh, I tell you what I haven't done here, which is quite important. Let's open that up again. I need to cut down this area here. You'll see a line on your printable, and we need to just cut down there. That's going to form the door so that we can get the candle in and out, turn it on and off, etc. That was a bit of an oversight. There we go. Now in this kit there is a little piece here, and what we're going to do here is glue half of it on to there, onto the top of the door. Let's move this section out of the way. Not onto the top of the door, on top of the door frame. So I'm going to pop a little bit of glue just on half of this piece and lay this down so it's half on, half off. And that will just stop the door. It will close the door nicely. There won't be any light escaping through that, and it'll stop the door folding in too much. Right, now we can go ahead and stick this together. So on this side, I'm not going to glue all the way to this edge. I'm going to glue, this is quite important, I'm going to glue just to about here. and I'll show you why now. It's a good idea to stand this up to do this, and you can tap everything down against your surface, and that way you know everything's going to be nice and square. And the reason I didn't go right to the edge is that this section here is going to tuck in down between the box shape and this outside piece, and that's going to keep it all nice and secure and together for us when we're finished. You'll kick yourself if you glue all that piece, so do try and remember. This side we can glue all of it and bring it round, stand it up so we know everything's nice and square against the surface, like this. And there we are. Now this section we can glue here, like that, and that leaves us our door shape open. So we'll go ahead and do this one. Glue that in position, lining everything up nice and square. And you can close your door, popping this flap in between the box and the outside edge, and just make sure that's lined up nicely before you make your final positioning of this little piece that you've glued here. And I'm just going to leave that to dry for a minute before I attempt to stick the roof on. So I'm going to go ahead now and glue all these roof flaps. I'll do them all in one go. I have done this once and then I didn't hit play on the video, so I've taken it all apart. Then the door went and a visitor arrived, so thankfully I took it all apart before that happened, so I can do it again for the video. So I've glued all of those flaps now, and then I'm going to stick my roof on. Mine's going to go a little bit easier than yours because it's already been on once. Okay, be mindful this is the back. There's an overhang here, so this is slightly wider than this to give you those nice eaves on your house. And you just need to fiddle about with this until you get it into a place that you feel happy with. Shut your door so it all goes on, make sure that's all nicely lined up, so it's all going nice and square. Push this down and fiddle about with it until you're happy with its placement, and then open your door, put your hand up or your fingers up inside, press those flaps down into place onto the inside of the roof so that you know everything's holding. It's a bit awkward to do this on camera, but there we are, I've done it. And now I'm going to close my door, make sure that's all nicely lined up, and I'm going to leave that to dry. Here's my house looking beautiful. Now, because I want the back door to be able to open, I'm not going to glue down these flaps. These flaps are here really just to stop the light escaping so it all comes through the windows. But I will have this door nicely closed when I come to glue the top on, so I've got to know that I've got it all nice and secure. And you can see that there's an overlap on both sides as well. So you've got your overlap on the gable ends. It looks really cute. But I think I'll go about there. So I'm only going to glue onto these front flaps. The back flaps will remain open for the door so that I can get at the candle. And I'm just going to pop this down with the door nicely closed so everything's all flush and lovely, and just position that by eye so I've got plenty of gable end at the front, not so worried about the back. And when you're happy you've got everything nicely lined up and you're happy with it, just press it down nice and tight and hold it in place to grab. It fits just under the window there. So if you wanted, I've cut a bit of mine off for something else, but if you wanted to go all the way around, there is enough to go all the way around the four sides, and you'd stop there obviously because that's your opener. So that would look something like, just as an illustration, that would look something like this, and this little tiny little slip of a band could fit nicely on top of there with ink, because ink is wonderful and it really helps to define shapes and make something really special out of pieces of paper, and I absolutely love that. Love it. There we go. So that's just an example of how your house could look if you wanted it to, if you wanted to put those extra bits on. It's really quite nice. So I'll just get some ink over these pieces that I won't get a chance to do when it's all glued together. These corner pieces I can do when it's all glued, but I'll do it now. You don't have to ink, of course. I just really I love that inked look. I never ever get fed up of it, and I love a nice dark inked edge as well. So I always use either Vintage Photo or the Walnut Stain Distress ink. I like those two. This is a new one, and this is Walnut Stain. And I'm really liking it because it's slightly darker than the Vintage Photo. My roof, for this section, I've cut the square out. You'll see the lines that you need to follow on your printable. That is to allow this section to sit into. If you don't want to do that, if you want to disregard this piece altogether, you can, and you just go ahead and make this tiny little house, which is really quite sweet. If you do that, you obviously don't want to make a hole in your roof, so I would suggest you ignore the lines and go with this side of the roof instead. I've reverse printed this with the backing sheet that you get with the kit. So I need to fold this in half, and I think I'll make some score lines here and then just fold that over. I'll ink in the edges of my roof now, because getting to those bottom bits is a bit tricky once it's all glued together. So we'll move on to this section here and fold all this up. And I've got quite a few. I've cut out my shape. I've made these little cuts here with my tabs. I'm going to go in and score this. I'm going to do this by eye because the lines aren't very long, and I feel fairly confident that I can do it accurately. Yeah, I think that's the lot. And I'm covered in ink as well. My roof section, I'm going to score these 3 lines running across. The top one, the middle one rather, I make into a mountain fold, and the outer ones I make into 2 valley folds, like that. And I can put some glue on here, just on this centerpiece, and that forms the apex. And I can also go ahead and do my inking whilst it's like this on both sides. This looks really cool on a small scale. I've been looking forward to putting this one together. I've designed it in my head. I haven't cut this circle out. This circle, of course, is the same size as my candle. Now, these candles, I've checked all sorts of different brands and makes and things on Amazon, and they tend to be 1.5 inches in diameter by 1.5 inches high. I've got a taller one here, so in the designs I've allowed for this one and the ones that are 1.5 inches high. Some of them are slightly smaller than 1.5 inches, but I haven't seen any that are any bigger. So this hole is 1.5 inches. So allow for the slight variations across the different brands and manufacturers. Of course, I'm not going to throw these bits away. They're going to come in handy for something else at some point. I can ink up this if I want to, or I can leave it. It's not going to be seen, but you know, it's nice to go that extra mile, isn't it? There we are. Now I'm ready for the bit that I've been waiting for. I'm going to put this together. I'll start with the base. So I'll turn it over. This piece comes up, up, around, down, and we're forming a box shape. So this flap here I can glue, Make sure that's all nicely lined up there. Now, as with the other houses in this kit, it's important on this side to not glue all the way up to this edge. And the reason for that is, I'll show you on this one here, is that this flap on the door at the back slots in between this box shape here and that section there, and that gives it a nice secure closure. So we'll just go to about here on this side. You can glue all of, and bring your form around to meet it, press it all down onto your surface so it's all nice and flat, and just hold it there for the glue to grab. Now I'm going to pop this, I'm going to shut my door. It's so cute, I love the little ones. I'm going to shut my door, I'm going to put this to one side to dry whilst I have a look at this smaller section which is going to fit. There's my roof for the small section, and my top section is going to sit down here like this. So I'm going to begin, I think, this is the first time I've actually put this together. I've designed it in my head and I'm confident it's going to work. It's just a question of what is the most effective way to stick it together. So I'm going to glue it together to form my box shape to start with. And now I'm going to glue all of these little sections here, all of these little flaps on the bottom of this structure. So then this roof section here will just sit down on the top. Now this is designed for these flaps. Actually, I've done them the wrong way around. This is designed for these roof flaps to fold outwards. I've forgotten about that. I was wondering, how do I let as much light as possible into this little top window section? And this was the way that I figured. So we're going to slide our top roof section down over the whole form. It will go, it will fit, it's designed to fit, but it's designed to fit snugly. There, just keep easing that down. And then this fold here will fold down over the V of this section here. I hope I'm explaining this all right to you and that you can see what's going on. When you've done that, when you've got that on, you just need to squish these tabs onto the roof form so they stick down nicely, and just tease all of this into place on the outside. There we go, that's looking really good now, that's working well. And just make sure that all these pieces are sticking down as they should. And there we have our roof, and that will sit on top. So I can go ahead now, I think, and I will glue these two sections together. I'm going to do this while these are still wet, so I've still got a little bit of wiggle room should I need to just alter anything slightly. I'm not gluing this back flat because this is our door, so be careful you don't go ahead and glue that one down. These other three sections, the two sides and the front, you can go ahead and glue those. And bear in mind that we've got a back here because it's got no window. Then we've got a front. It's got the window. I'll pop the front on the front, position that in place, hold it down. I'm going to put my hands inside, put my fingers inside, stick these flaps down at the front and the sides, and let them grab. It's a bit of a fiddle at this point and you think, oh my goodness, but it does come, and then once it starts to stick together, it all works really, really well. I'm going to close this door now and just bring these pieces down nice and firmly onto the sides and give those a moment to grab. There we go, that's looking really good. It's like a little church, this one, a little chapel there. And I can let that dry before I go tackling the final roof. Now the final roof has got a little apex. I've already glued that together, and I'm going to glue all of these sections now. So I'll bring them up so they're at 90 degrees, because the issue I have now is that I'm really going to struggle to get my finger up inside to support those while I'm gluing the roof on. So I'll glue all these little flaps So there we are. That's my little chapel luminary done. I love that. How cute is that? And there it is, the finished little chapel with its windows. It's 2 stories. Really, really pleased with that. And here are the others that go with it. There's the tall house with the 3 stories, the 3 windows, and then I've got my little house which has got the French windows here and the other little windows on those 2 other sides. They're going to look so good on my mantelpiece, which is where I'm going to put them above the fire, and they'll stay there all year long. These are lovely for Christmas, great for Christmas gifts. If you're doing them for craft fairs, you've got this battery candle only, no naked flame printed on the bottom of all of them, so you're covered there. I really, really hope you love these as much as I have enjoyed designing and making them. They're so up my street. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.